are going to look for dinosaurs, we have to go up there.
But time is against them. They've already been here for 3 weeks. Although the sun shines for 20 hours and days are long, the Antarctic summer only lasts for 2 months. Soon it'll be time for them to leave. With another good day in sight, the team heads out. Their spirits remain high. If there's a dinosaur here, they're determined to find it. The dig site is on prehistoric dry land away from the ancient sea. But looking for bones on Vega Island is still like looking for a needle in a haystack 5 miles square. Jim Martin of the South Dakota School of Mines has what could be the most exciting find of the expedition.
Today was our best day. The best day since we've been here in Antarctica. The best thing was this tooth. This is a tooth that Dan found today. And this tooth, I suspect to be the first hadrosaur from Antarctica. We'll have to get it back to the laboratory to be sure, but my gut feeling is real good.
Hadrosaurs, known as duckbills because of the shape of their snouts, were large plant-eating dinosaurs that ranged in length from 25 to 35 feet. Walking on 2 legs or on 4, they dominated the plains of North America throughout the Cretaceous. Like Muttaburrasaurus in Australia, hadrosaurs were grazers that moved about in vast herds. Though their bills looked like a duck's, the back of their jaws were lined with hundreds of teeth for grinding vegetation. But would a single tooth from Antarctica match a hadrosaurus from North America?
As we compared the tooth with other teeth from here in South Dakota, we were amazed. The morphology was nearly identical. I was very, very surprised. Something that far away to be this similar to something in North America truly surprised me. We put it in the lineup of hadrosaurs from here in South Dakota. You can't tell it apart.
Finding a hadrosaur tooth in Antarctica is very interesting because we always consider hadrosaurs as being northern hemisphere animals. Certainly our knowledge up to now, and especially in textbooks and scientific publications, suggests that hadrosaurs developed in the north, and it was only at the very end of the Cretaceous that they got into the south polar regions.
Hundreds of hadrosaur skeletons have been found from Montana to Alaska, suggesting these large plant eaters migrated thousands of miles. As the winter approached in primeval Antarctica and the dark closed in, this was the signal to the hadrosaurs that it was time to move on. For those living where Vega Island is today, the warmer pastures of South America were their only escape. In front of them lies a long journey and a very big hurdle. 120 million years ago, Antarctica and Australia were still an island continent. 300 miles of water separated them from South America. But for Jim Martin, an ocean is not always an obstacle.
Now, if it wasn't dry land, something you can walk on, it may well have been land that was close enough through island series or island arc scenario where the animals could actually swim or raft from one island to another to get down onto the South American continent.
Perhaps when tides were low and the water shallow, dinosaurs could walk between the continents. Or like elephants today, perhaps they could swim. Escaping the polar winter by migrating was only possible for large herd animals like the Antarctic hadrosaur. But if the plant eaters abandoned their summer pastures, what did the meat eaters do? Waiting at the ends of the earth was one more big surprise. The smell of winter in the air. A bloodthirsty carnivore is on the prowl. Most of the plant eaters have migrated north. This kill could be its last meal for some time. 120 million years later, at Inverloch in southeastern Australia, the team from Monash University is still in pursuit of a dinosaur from the Cretaceous. But here, the tide is their worst enemy. Each morning, sand and pools of water have to be cleared away before work can begin. At Inverloch, the fossil-bearing rock is spread out along the beach within the tidal zone. The team only has 6 hours a day to look for bones. Despite the inconvenience, dinosaurs have been found here. Paleontologist Leslie Poole has a fragment of a killer that surfaced in 1979.
This bone is one of the most exciting finds that we've made in the last 20 years. It's the ankle bone of an allosaurid dinosaur. Now, this is a dinosaur we never expected to find here.
Allosaurus was a nasty 4-ton meat eater famous for stalking North America. One ankle bone is the only evidence that this vicious predator also terrorized Australia. But its discovery is rewriting the story of this monstrous creature. Not only was it a long way from home, it was also a pygmy.
The evidence from southern Australia suggests that the dinosaurs there really didn't get that big. If they weren't capable of migrating north, that is towards the equator, then they had to stay in that region during the winter months and basically tough out the winter.
Allosaurus must have relished the cold polar climate. In North America, it disappeared at the end of the Jurassic over 140 million years ago. But here at Inverloch, the rocks are 120 million years old, proving that in Australia, Allosaurus lived on into the Cretaceous for another 20 million years.
How they managed to cheat death, whether it was the environment or the isolation of Australia at the time, we really don't know. What we do know is that they continued living here when they went extinct everywhere else in the world.
To understand why the dinosaurs of Australia and Antarctica were so successful, scientists look to their modern-day counterparts. Today, Australia is home to the world's most infamous reptile, the crocodile. For a century, paleontologists thought that dinosaurs, like these fearsome creatures, were cold-blooded. Because their bodies lack the internal mechanisms to produce energy, they rely on heat from the sun to warm them up.
It's early morning here in northern Queensland, and cold-blooded creatures like this crocodile take many hours to warm up in the sun before they begin their daily activities, become hunting, lurking predators. But 100 million years ago, here in Australia, temperatures were much more extreme. Creatures like this just wouldn't have had a chance.
For cold-blooded dinosaurs to be active all year round meant functioning at temperatures at or below the point of freezing. John Long of Perth University thinks there's only one possible explanation for how dinosaurs coped with the cold.
Warm-blooded creatures like these kangaroos are much better able to handle the variability of climate, the extremes of cold and hot, much better than the cold-blooded crocodiles. To me, it's really the only explanation for how dinosaurs could survive in the cold climates of Australia They must have been warm-blooded.
Whether they were warm or cold-blooded is still being hotly debated. In the right environment, even cold-blooded creatures can be a force to be reckoned with. The dinosaurs down under had licked the freezing temperatures. Now they would conquer the cold, dark nights. Unlocking the secrets of the dinosaurs' world is never easy. But when the going gets really tough, it's time for drastic action. "200 miles west of Inverloch, in southeastern Australia, is a place known as Dinosaur Cove. In 1980, paleontologist Tom Rich of the Museum of Victoria began uncovering spectacular fossils after blasting a labyrinth of underground tunnels out of a cliff. Some 300 tons of rock were removed and 200 feet of tunnels excavated. Then a team of volunteers searched through the rock for the scattered remains of a lost world.
Each worker might only find 1 or 2 bits of bone a day, but between 15 to 30 people, you'd rack up 50, 60, 80 fragments every day. What do you think it is?
I'd say maybe a vertebra, maybe Dixolothodon, but a small one.
Small one, yeah.
The task is painfully slow.
Have you seen this thing, Rick?
Nearly 20 years later, some 5,000 individual bones, but only 2 partial skeletons have been recovered. Tom's wife, paleontologist Pat Rich of Monash University, has been studying some of the fossils rescued from Dinosaur Cove in 1991.
There are 2 bones here, one of a juvenile and the other of an adult. It's a thigh bone of an animal called Tamimus.
Named after her son Tim, Tamimus lived here 120 million years ago. 11 feet long, it was fast and agile, reaching speeds of up to 40 miles an hour. Instead of teeth, this dinosaur had a bird-like beak and preyed on insects and small mammals. Tamimus belonged to a group of dinosaurs known as the ostrich mimics because their long, slender legs and long necks show an uncanny resemblance to an ostrich. But this creature isn't unique. Ostrich mimics have been found in North America.
What's really unusual about this group is that it's known from the Northern Hemisphere, many different kinds, but until this record, we had no confirmed report of it from the Southern Hemisphere. So we're very excited about it.
How did a warm-weather dinosaur adapt to the cold? By comparing Tamimus to its North American kin, Pat hoped she'd be able to see a difference.
We couldn't find any hint whatsoever of what might be the adaptation allowing Tamimus to survive in these polar latitudes.
As nothing was visible on the outside of the fossil, Pat decided to take a look on the inside. The structure of the bone might reveal a hidden clue. In a radical move, she sawed the specimen in half, then took a thin cross-section for examination under a microscope. The sample was shipped 4,000 miles away to South Africa for analysis. At the Museum of Cape Town, Anasuya Chansami has borrowed a technique from the study of tree rings to study bones, in this case a bear's.
What we have here is the leg bone of a polar bear, and one of the things one can do with a bone like this is look at how this animal actually grows. What you would do is make a section of the bone and make it so thin that you can actually see the structure of the bone under the microscope.
The bone reflects changes in the polar bear's lifestyle from one season to the next.
You have a broad